If you watched my previous video, you'll have joined me chatting about various techniques you can use to make the descent easier. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at a few different things you can do to make uphill a little bit easier as well. Walking uphill puts a completely different set of strains on the body to that of going downhill. We've all been there on the ascent, feeling a little bit like we're a few feet from the summit of Everest and not just out of the Malvern Hills. Going uphill isn't easy. Well, here's a few different things you can do to make the uphill a little bit more bearable. Number one, warm up. Going uphill is tough on the muscles and it's tough on the lungs. If you've ever been up a peak such as Trevan in North Wales, you'll have noticed that you're straight out the car and you're straight uphill. So it's definitely worth, before kick-starting your walk, taking a moment to warm up. Stretching and warming up your muscles before you set off is going to make things a little bit easier. We all know what it's like after we've been hiking for 15-20 minutes, things seem to get a little bit easier anyway, but we can hasten that process by warming up a little bit before we set off. Number two, shorten your steps. A little bit like dropping a gear on a bike when you're going uphill, shortening your steps is going to make the process, the ascent, a little bit easier. Take shorter, more controlled steps and you'll find the ascent much more bearable. Number three, move at a slower pace. It's not a race, unless of course you're in a race, then it is a race. But for most of us, we're out in the mountains to enjoy the hills, enjoy the views, get a few photos and have a moment of a bit of solitude. So taking your time will not only make soaking in the views around you a little bit easier, but it'll also make going uphill that much more bearable as well. Next up, lean only ever so slightly into the hill. It's natural to lean into the hill as you're ascending, but try and do it from your ankles and less so from the waist. When you're walking, try and keep your torso over your hips and don't lean backwards, that'll just throw you off balance. Leaning too far forwards or backwards is going to put quite a bit of strain on your lower back. Number five, when you're moving, try and do so at a pace that demands less brakes. If you find you're stopping and starting frequently, try and slow that pace down a little bit. We all know what it's like to have a lovely sit down, enjoy the views and then kick-start again. It can be tough. So just controlling that pace a little bit, controlling your breathing on the ascent is going to make it a lot easier. Number six, use walking poles. This is going to transfer some of the energy that your legs would normally have to use into your arms. When you're using walking poles, insert your hand from below the strap and then rest your wrist on top of it. That way if you do let go or slip, you're not going to fall forwards. Let's face it, nobody really enjoys falling flat on their face. Finally, keep practicing. We've already discussed the fact that going uphill is strenuous on the muscles and it's heavy on the cardio. The more you train, the more you practice, the easier it's going to get. So there's just a few different hints and tips that you can use to make going uphill a little bit easier. If you've missed our video on going downhill and how you can make that process a little bit easier as well, click the card above to check that out now. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on anything coming up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.